Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to AVID, the organizers of this convention, in welcoming each and every one of us to this event. I would like to thank most especially Dr. Sly. I spent many hours, I would say, on the phone with him discussing Igbo issues over a long period of time. Dr. Ojukwu also. And when he first informed me of this convention, I felt that this was such a wonderful initiative. And then when he said that the topic I should speak on would be the state of Igbo affairs, oh my gosh, that was a little disheartening because it's not always something that I would like to sugarcoat, because at this very moment in time, we are at a crossroads. And that crossroads really starts with how does one begin in an attempt to describe the current condition of Igbo land and the general situation of southeastern Nigeria. I can only say with all sense of objectivity and at the risk of sounding alarmist that it is deeply alarming at this point. Within a space of 3 years, Igbo land has become, to put it quite mildly, a giant crime scene. It's become a theater of mayhem, unimaginable brutality, gruesome and unaccountable forms of violence that really elucidating here would take all night. It's not just restricted to shooting sprees, kidnappings, abductions, and so forth. Attacks on markets and civic centers, security services and government institutions. There are also attacks on homes. And people have been quite concerned about the reasons why these things are happening at this point. For those who live in the metropolis, sometimes it is said that they are generally insulated, but not always so. The most traumatizing part of what is happening now is that it's rather hard to put your finger on why it is happening and to attribute the occurrences to one particular reason. This is because the situation in the Southeast is multidimensional, and the prevailing violence is amenable to distinct characterizations. Some of those are, of course, the state act of violence and atrocities by elements of the armed and security forces. We also have the political violence brought on by or at the instigation of politicians in the contest for power and influence. There is that violence by self-help vigilantes and militias that act directly or indirectly under the color of state, political, or communal legitimacy. And then we have the agitations by groups militias, originally actuated by an advocacy against perceptions of marginalization. We can't rule out, of course, the organized and armed criminal gangs involved in a criminal enterprise, some of them with reach beyond the borders of Nigeria. We have the violence by armed pastoralist gangs. By these I mean what we generally refer to as the Fulani herdsmen. And then we have the intercommunal violence over land, natural resources and boundaries, and the violence over community government by the President Generals, town unions, etc., including the disputes over chieftaincy, town union leadership, and tensions between town unions and the traditional rulers. And then there is something that some people generally underestimate, which is the competition for control of what has become a lucrative trade in small and light weapons in the inland waterways. Now, these are the findings of the Truth, Justice and Peace Commission, a commission of which I am a secretary. It is led by Professor Odumegwu, who is a renowned civil rights leader, and set up actually to unravel the causes of agitations in the Southeast over a protracted period of time. As a result of this violence, you see that the economy in the Southeast has been set on a free fall, and most of those people who would normally come down to the Southeast to trade, we find that a lot of them have rechanneled their resources elsewhere, where the security of their lives and properties are not threatened. For example, a lot of the traders at Onitsha Market have moved down to Asaba. Asaba is just across the bridge from Onitsha. But it's amazing how the violence generally in the Southeast has not affected Asaba in Delta State in the same way. And this deteriorating state of affairs within the region, of course, has crippled not just security, the economy, academics, because the school timetables have now become distorted. Students are not able to go to school for months. And then, of course, the general cohesiveness is indicative of what we must face is a colossal leadership failure. Judged dispassionately from afar, the violence that reigns supreme in the Southeast today cannot be said to be attributable purely to the agitations of the West for a separate state. Prior to this resurgence, violence and insecurity in the Southeast was closely connected with other issues like organized gangs, cults, thugs, like I said, the struggle for natural resources and the communal crisis over boundaries. Also, among the pathologies of violence in the Southeast, we find that the violence that is occasioned by the problems, not just with traditional rulers and their subjects, but traditional rulers trying to ascend the throne dealing with adversaries are arguably the most chronic. And then you have the other areas like the wholesale importation and breeding of thugs for elections. And these have continued to perpetuate political violence and to promote inadequate or personalized leadership. And these have resulted in structural factors that correlate very easily with the rise in violence in the region. With this violence, of course, unemployment has become rampant. And the violence in itself has been exacerbated by labor crisis, livelihood crisis, and with average youth unemployment reported to be well over 40% across the region, rising to as much as 56% in the state, for instance. This current crisis of insecurity in the region reflects a deeper crisis of social exclusion, unemployment, and skills among the youth of the region. Now we have the herdsmen crisis. This herdsmen crisis, where the herdsmen themselves invade the farms, they are looking for food for their cattle, etc. This has altered the calculus of land use in the Southeast region, resulting in artificial scarcity of food, caused essentially by the inability of farmers to work in community farmlands due to rising reports of attacks on farmers by armed herders and their cattle. This in turn added fuel to the fires of this separatist agitation, because we can see clearly this rationale for advocacy and the establishment of an armed wing in the Eastern Security Network. And we also have to understand that violence in the North also displaced a significant proportion of young people down south. In Southeast Nigeria, Igbo land, two major developments framed the evolution of these pathologies. I have said before that the breakdown of state institutions has prompted citizens in many parts of Nigeria to resort to self-help. Of course, we had the self-help before with the dreaded Bakassi boys. Of course, they came under the guise of fighting crime in the context of state and leadership capacity. But then the Bakassi boys were responsible for an untold number of atrocities in Igbo shortly after the turn of the millennium. And secondly, of course, we have the agitation for political equity to redress perceptions of historical marginalization following the end of Nigeria's Civil War in 1970. Now in the Southeast, we have what is known as the sit-at-home protest, initiated by IPOB, the indigenous Igbo Bianca. It has been in effect since August 2021. And of course, it was an ideological demonstration which came on with the illegal rendition and imprisonment of the leader of the organization, Mazin Nnamdi. Of course, we all know here that the courts have held that he should be set free, but he's still being detained by the government. The Southeast actually, as a result of what is happening, have had to reassess their so-called inclusion in this project called Nigeria, despite the fact that there has been a state-sponsored suppression of the memories of the Civil War that we talk about. That has only succeeded in making the following generations keener to know, actually, what transpired. And they have become much more conscious of their deprivations in a country in which they feel that they are just being tolerated. The banning of the teaching of history in schools post-Civil War has not done much, really, to abate that which the federal government at the time, considering themselves the victors, even though they said, as a mark of magnanimity, so-called, that the war would have no victor, no vanquished, but they continued to treat all of Igbo land as a vanquished space. At this point in Igbo land, when you ask about the state of affairs, our mothers are not able to go into the farms in the hinterlands because of these herdsmen. We know for a fact that much as we don't want to face it, Igbo land is gradually turning into a wasteland. We are faced this time with a self-imposed exile, call it what you may, or the two-star with X. It means it's being deserted somewhat. A friend of mine came down from Madrid and wanted to go into the communities. So I was taking him on a guided tour, and he said to me, I can see these huge palatial homes, but they all seem deserted. You never see anybody going into those iron gates or leaving. And we wanted to know why. And I really had to do it twice, because if I told him why, he probably would have rushed into the car and said, let's leave this place. But in all this, one thing is clear. Most of our people believe, especially the ones who are affluent, believe that they were insulated from the violence because they had security motorcades and so forth. But now, in realizing that the perpetrators of that violence are able to match them 5 for 5, it's become difficult for them even to come home as they would do normally every weekend for the usual funerals, events, Thanksgivings, and so forth. today is that most of those men who built such glorious edifices in their communities cannot even use them. In times past, if you had a daughter or daughters, and marriages needed to take place, traditional marriages had to take place in the community of the daughter, the bride. Now, what is happening is that those events are taking place in Lagos and Abuja because nobody wants to put their guests through insecurity challenges. So it's affecting them. It's affecting them because they can no longer freely come and go. It's now not just a problem for people in the communities who are in both the villagers or the not so affluent who cannot afford security. As a matter of fact, they're even safer now. What this means is that Igbo businesses or businesses based in the Southeast are facing serious challenges at this time, and many people have been forced to relocate not just their families but their businesses away from Igbo land. And what in times past also would be considered very strange, burial ceremonies are now being held in Lagos and Abuja. The Igbo spirit, which is synonymous with commercial resourcefulness, hard work, and dexterity, is currently slowly being diminished because on Mondays, whereas full-grown men would be at their places of work, they will be located as from 3 o'clock at drinking bars or just at home doing nothing, whilst the rest of the world is at work promoting productivity. Even most churches would fix prayer sessions on those Mondays. The most disturbing is the sight of children who are no longer in school or who no longer consider Monday a school day, and their young adults are playing football in the streets. And not just on Mondays, sometimes people are forced to spend an entire week sitting at home, doing nothing, earning nothing, and achieving nothing. The reality to all this is that there is more to this tragedy than meets the eye. It is a strong belief that there are very strong, powerful elements at work against the owner, and that these interests are driven by very powerful persons from within and outside the land. To date, there is no tangible reason why the government has failed really to do anything about this situation. And of course, we must admit that there is complicity by some of our leaders, and they have failed to think and act accordingly. There is a serious disconnect also amongst the governors of the 5 southeastern states. Each person has their own idea about what to do about this violence. And of course, recently, one of the governors came out to ban the sit at home. Others have done so. And that led to very serious consequences. Now, the fact is, the governments urge the people to go about their businesses on Mondays, yet they fail to provide security in strategic places to assure people of their safety. The fact that they themselves are insulated from the violence because, of course, of their security motorcades, and they're, of course, behind these jeeps with bulletproof armor. You find that there is a problem with those pronouncements. There's a lack of sincerity. And with this lack of sincerity, without a defined purpose or clarity of vision, without a commitment or a strategic policy to proactively implement what they are requesting, and without the trust of the people they seek to lead. The leadership itself in Igbo land has become a problem instead of a solution. What are we to do? When the people of the Southeast agitate for a separate state, it is because after the war, we saw no genuine efforts to seek reconciliation, even to address the root causes of the war. Despite the no victor, no vanquished, what we saw and what we witnessed and what we have continued to witness are decades of vengeance, conspiracy against NdiIgbo, and a certain type of arrogance that continues to manifest amongst successive leaders, the type of arrogance that would make a president refer to the Southeast or NdiIgbo as a dot. After the war, nobody has addressed the issues of the punitive massacres. Nobody has addressed the dismissal of some officers on the losing side and the reduction in rank of others. Nobody has addressed the abandoned property and the seizure of Igbo property in some parts of Nigeria, as well as the punitive boundary adjustment. Nobody has addressed the closure of the Eastern Seaport or the railway lines, or the deliberate policy of encirclement of NdiIgbo other Igbos outside Igbo heartland to reject their Igbo identity. Nobody has addressed the deliberate policy of destroying Igbo businesses and the continued massacre, lynching of Igbos in many places in the north, the insensitivity to the plight of the IDPs of Igbo extraction, who were initially the major targets of Boko Haram bombings and killings. And of course, nobody has addressed the dismissal of civil servants. Post-war, there were also some secret executions of some officers. And there has been still no serious effort at post-war reconstruction or reconciliation. The fact is that our leaders need to confront, they need to rise up and confront these issues, because for there to be closure and for there to be the slightest possibility of healing or even recovery from this unfortunate condition we find ourselves in, it is necessary for them to stand boldly in front of the mirror and to recognize and assimilate that image that stares back at them. This onerous task of confronting the Leviathan can only start when we all jettison this conspiracy of silence and begin to tell ourselves the truth. That truth is that the failure of the leadership in Igbo land, our leaders, our governors, our senators, our House of Representatives members, and of course, major Igbo stakeholders to address properly the marginalization of the Igbo nation is what created the vacuum which NdiIgbo rose up to occupy post-war. It is also this failure of the leadership of the Igbo nation to react accordingly to the kidnapping and the unlawful incarceration of NdiIgbo that has inflamed the tensions within the Southeast region today and has led to the rise of others who want, in an emergency fashion, to fill the gap left when he became detained. So I ask, for how long are we doomed to scramble perpetually on this hamster wheel, passing this Mosesian baton from hand to hand? Ojukwu led a brave struggle for the survival of his people. The issues that led to that war still subsist. Igbos are the first targets whenever there's a problem in Nigeria, be it in Lagos, Abuja, or anywhere outside Igbo land. Their properties are targeted. We pay for the unity of Nigeria with our blood, our sweat, and our tears. Yet, we see that in Nigeria, there is an unstated policy that the woman must be kept down at all costs. Coming to America, where the Igbo man has been able to thrive because of the conducive environment, we are now faced with other issues, and these are issues of succession, issues that relate to the next generation. I know that oftentimes some of you here might ask yourselves whether your children will ever consider Nigeria home, whether there's any emotional connection to a country that possibly fills them with doom when they think of having to exist there. And of course, on a personal level, for yourselves, I'm sure you wonder, what next? Many of you have investments back home. If you don't, your fathers have. And it must be troubling to think that all this brick and mortar that took so much sacrifice to put up, you will find that perhaps not even your family members are occupying those homes, those spaces, and that perhaps you only get some time to come back for a week, a month, either for a funeral or for Christmas. I'm sure you often ask yourselves, was this worth it? Working so hard in a country that has now become your own, or working to send money back home to help, to put up something in Igbo cosmology. When the father builds, the son must build better. And after all this, you wonder, how many months, how many years you will ever have to stay in those buildings, to interact with members of your community. And I just have one answer, which I give each time. And this is particularly important for veterans. The fact is, America demands of you your youth, your strength, your passion, your commitment, your vibrance, your vitality. But this, brethren, is no country for old men. At the end of it all, those sacrifices that you made at some point of your lives, especially in those twilight years, you will realize that they have been worth it. They have been worth it because you lived up to what reverberates here with speaker after speaker. His Excellency Ambassador Plum has talked about the indestructible element of the Igbo spirit. This is what you have lived up to. Because you have done that which your chief requests of you. You have done that which your ancestors request of you. You have gone out to conquer and come back home to plant those seeds of your conquest. When people pass, they will point and say, "This is the son of so and so. This is his father's son." So, on this note, I would like to commend each and every member of AVID. When I hear Dr. Sly talk about the executives and the members with such pride and the sense of brotherhood that they share, it's something really to hear. It's very heartwarming. And I would like to urge you all to continue in that mode. I would like to urge you all to continue to look into the issues in our homeland. It is the only homeland we have. It is my wish that after this exodus, there will be a return. And I know that with AVID championing this cause, representing us all here in the United States with the strategic engagements that they hold with the authorities, at some point in time, the outside world will reconsider their policies against NdiIgbo. I would like to thank Dr. Ojukwu. I would like to thank so many of you here, Dr. Obina. Thank you. I would like to thank our friends who came from Minnesota, Chief Ojukwu and the team. Thank you all. I would like to thank all of you that I have met on this journey. I was really, I felt privileged to meet Dr. Philip Efem at first meeting. It's really something very emotional for me. My husband always talked so fondly about one of the finest officers we have ever known. Was, of course, his father. I would like to urge each and every one of us here not to relent in our support for this organization, because they are holding up our land here in the United States. And it is my hope, too, that in no distant time, we will have songs of joy, songs of praise, knowing that what our fathers and our forefathers left us, we have been able to defend. Thank you very much.